Good afternoon, families. My name is Miss Converse. I had the great opportunity of working with your children for several weeks this semester. When I entered the classroom in January, the class was working on subtraction with regrouping or borrowing. I noticed that many students use different strategies in order to solve these problems. This motivated me to ask a story problem with subtraction that required regrouping to see strategies each student used. The whole classroom problem that I distributed was: before Jason opened his lemonade stand, he had 70 cups for the lemonade. At the end of the day, Jason had 33 cups left over. How many cups of lemonade did Jason sell? I noticed the class used several methods in order to complete the subtraction problem. In the first strategy, I noticed several students subtracted by taking away the smaller number from the bigger number, regardless of whether the smaller number was on top or bottom. This led several students to the final answer of 43 cups. So they subtracted 3 minus 0 and then 7 minus 3, or they switched that and started in the tens place and then went to the ones place. Another strategy I observed was the use of pictures to perceptually count out a problem. These students drew out 70 tallies or circles and then crossed out 33 to find their answer. For some students, this strategy was successful, while for others they may have miscounted by a few. Other students widely used the third strategy, which was to change the 33 into 30 in order to have easier numbers for students to subtract. Although this is a good strategy, some of these students forgot, just like in this example, to go and subtract 3 more from 40, which would have resulted in the correct answer of 37 cups. These methods allowed me to see how students reasoned subtraction problems with regrouping. I was able to observe the strengths of the class and places that needed improvement. All of the students understood how to set up the math problem based on the story. So here's a demonstration of the student work that I did. So in the first problem, the student started in the tens place and subtracted 7 minus 3 to get 4, and then 3 minus 0 to get 3. Or they started in the ones place and did 3 minus 0 again, and then 7 minus 3, which would have resulted in the same answer, 43. In the second strategy, I grouped by tens just for ease of this demonstration. Most students just tallied out 70 in a row. And so students had to cross out in the strategy 33 tallies or circles and then count the remainder, which was 37. In the third strategy, students changed the math problem to 70 minus 30 for ease of subtraction to get 40. In order to get the correct answer, kind of like I said in the last slide, students needed to subtract 40 minus 3. So here's some strategies to practice at home. In my observation, I noticed that students use many different strategies for subtraction with regrouping. I believe that many of the students used perceptual accounting to complete the problem or forgot to use the regrouping strategy. I think that several methods can be helpful in order to help your children improve their subtraction skills when regrouping is required. To begin, it would be beneficial to complete a subtraction problem like 32 minus 7 to see if your child is regrouping or perceptually counting, or like in the example, 58 minus 9. Although this is a good strategy for smaller numbers, I would like your children to learn how to use regrouping so that they can practice with larger numbers. So some students for the smaller numbers may do 58 minus 9 and subtract on their fingers, which is why we would like to practice, even though they can use their fingers, we'd like to practice the regrouping strategy to use both two-digit numbers. A helpful poem to teach regrouping is More on Top, No Need to Stop. More on the floor, go next door and get 10 more, which is the middle part of regrouping. And then numbers the same, zeros the game. For our next strategy, this is using 10 base blocks or cubes. It would be helpful for you to use these manipulatives physically. So if you need some, I can give you some from my classroom. I believe that this is beneficial at home for when learning subtraction. The first is using cubes or base 10 blocks. Students are able to physically manipulate the numbers this way and get to see how the tens place is broken down to help regroup with the ones place. So in this example, you can see that you always start with the ones. If you can't subtract from the ones, you take 10 from the tens place and move a tens block over and decompose that, or to add it with these singular blocks, which is 2. And so that becomes 12. 12 minus 6 is 6. And since you took 10, the 4 becomes a 3. 3 minus 2 is 1. In the third strategy, this is the use of a number line in order to subtract. Students can break up a number they are subtracting in several ways in order to reach the end number. This also helps students see that subtraction is more than just taking away a number. Subtraction is finding the difference between two numbers and can be achieved in several ways. We saw that some students in the whole class problem subtracted 70 minus 30 to kind of make the numbers easier. This would be helpful for students to see on a number line because they can make jumps by 1s, 5s, 10s, 15s, 30, etc. Students can make a jump from 70 to 30 and then make one more jump of 3 to 40, from 40 to 37. So I kind of wrote out these examples for our whole class problem. For strategy 1, giving your student a kind of a pre-test to see how they complete a 2-digit number on top, a 1-digit number on bottom, to see if they are using perceptual counting or if they are using the regrouping strategy, so that we can reinforce the use of the regrouping strategy, since that's what we're working towards. Strategy 2 is using the base 10 blocks. I drew them out for the purpose of this video, and moving over that 10 from the 10's place in order to assist the 1's place. And then strategy 3, I used several different jumps. There are other methods that or other jumps that you could make as well. These are just a few examples. So this is a good next step to allow you to work with your children to use several strategies. Some of these might resonate more with your children than others and might be beneficial to helping them with subtraction with regrouping. Keep up the great work and let me know if you have any questions.